Hi, it's Leslie, and welcome to Great Glutes, Strong Glutes, Ageless Body. Well, what do I mean by that? Think about what we spend a lot of our time doing. We sit. So we're compressing them, we're creating dysfunction, there's dehydration there. So when you get up, for example, and you stand up like, oh, I gotta stretch because you're really tight, think about what you've been doing. Again, lack of movement really starts to create a whole effect in the whole kinetic chain. Also, on the other hand, is this thing called squeezing, tucking, and tightening. And I mentioned in many other videos that I'm not a fan of all this tucking and tightening and squeezing, because at the end of the day, the more that we restrict the motion in our hips, the less movement we're going to have in the rest of our body. You can even try it. Like, just tighten your glutes as hard as you can right now. Let's go for a walk, or let's go skiing, or let's do any activity. But yet bar classes, let's get up on our toes and squeeze our glutes, is ridiculous. It makes no sense. It does not translate to function. And once again, everything is, connected. Pelvic floor, connected to diaphragm. Everything works together synergistically. And when you think about, let's say you've got a family and you've got one family member that's kind of cranky, or you've got a friend that's cranky, it affects the whole energy of everyone else around us, right? Same thing. If our glutes are tight and dysfunctional, guess what? It affects the rest of the family. So we want to have a happy family here. So let's just talk about a couple things that we can do. Obviously, squatting is one of the best things we can do. We want to think of a hinge. So by pressing our hips back, immediately you feel everything lengthen. So just start doing some squats. Even when you're just, maybe you're watching TV, get off the couch and do some squats and notice how that feels in your body. Even if you're a little bit tired, knock out 10 of them. It's not going to kill you. The other thing that we can do too is posterior lunges. Now, a posterior lunge means anything that's going to cross behind, either, vertically or in the sagittal plane, or I'm going to cross behind in my transverse plane. The moment I ask you to hinge forward, again, we start to lengthen this sucker out here, and your glute is going, wow, that feels really good. So start knocking out some curtsy lunges, not upright. Upright here, my knee, for example, does not like that. No way. When I add a hinge and I add rotation to this, bring it on. I want my glutes to be strong so I can ski, so I can do things, maybe go snowshoeing. And the weaker our glutes are, the more our hip flexors go, you know what? I'm taking over. You guys can go on vacation. Not a great scenario. Tight hip flexors lead to all kinds of dysfunction. That's another video. Anytime we think of lunging, the more upright I am, for example, the more I'm going to get a nice lengthening in my hip flexor. But yet my glute is working a little bit here. But think of, again, when you lean forward, so even if you're doing a lunge back and you're coming up, I'm really focusing on my right leg. My right leg is doing all the work here as I lunge back and as I come forward. So once again, I can also go more into like a skater, where I go out and I come back, I'm loading up this side. So any of these movements here that you're adding a hinge forward, anytime we do that, we're keeping the knees out of pain, because we're asking our back complex to load up and move, right? So lots of different things. We can use TheraBands, but don't think of pulsing until your poor hips, the acetabulum is on fire, because the more we do pulse, 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 and shorten, again, we're compressing the tissue. We want that tissue to be elastic. For example, if you were to do jump squats, if you were to tighten up the glutes and go, okay, jump squat, that's all you're going to get out of it. But if you really load to explode and you get down there, then you're really creating the whole kinetic chain to be effective, if that makes sense. So once again, don't squeeze, don't tuck, don't tighten. Same thing in bridges. Bridges are not a bad exercise for glutes, But guess what? Once again, am I going to tighten them? No. I want to think of lengthening through the front of the body. Use my arms to press myself up so I get this delicious sensation in the front of the body of moving away from me rather than feeling compressed. So by lifting up and lowering, I'm activating glutes. I'm not squeezing, I'm not tucking, I'm tightening them, but I might lift up into my bridge and think about the right side for a moment. Think about the left side and feel if they're equally balanced, or do I feel like one side is actually stronger than the other? In my case, my right side is different than my left. Therefore, when I lift up, I can feel this glute working, but a whole lot of hamstring. By the way, they're friends. Then I can take my foot off the floor, alternate right to left. But once again, I'm not squeezing anything. I'm just moving as authentically as I can. So depending on your height, your femur length, the way that you are built, first of all, embrace it. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. But if you're like me, you've got a long femur, short torso, I have to work pretty hard to really do my lunges and that because it takes a lot of effort. But when I get done, my whole goal is not to go, oh my God, I'm in so much agony, I can't move tomorrow. My goal is did I strengthen my body authentically so I can go out and do all the things that I love to do? I hope this helps. This is Leslie, your core connection. You want more of this? You want more of an ageless body? Go to agelesstrainingacademy.com. That's where you're going to find all kinds of great stuff. And I hope you are ready for a great holiday.